Germans and turned into a military base. The hotel and the larger homes were at the north end. In between was mostly sand dunes and scrub, with a few trees and no hills. But all along the seaward side was a magnificent 10-mile beach. Harold felt a few drops of rain as the ferry docked at the north end, and decided to cross the island and drive home along the beach, which had hard-packed sand. He was halfway from the dock to the hotel when he ran out of water and, therefore, steam. There was only one house within sight, and, unfortunately, it was Axel Fleming's. With a sigh, he set off up the long drive and went around the side to the stables. He was pleased to see a manservant putting the Ford in the garage. "Hello, Gunnar," said Harold. "Can I have some water?" "Help yourself," Gunnar said. "There's a tap in the yard." Harold found a bucket and filled it. He went back to the road and poured the water into the tank. When he returned the bucket to the yard, Peter Fleming was there. A tall, haughty man of 30, Peter was Axel's son. A police detective, he now lived in Copenhagen. Peter was reading Reality. He looked up from the paper to see Harold. "What are you doing here?" "Hello, Peter. I came to get some water." "I suppose this rag is yours." Harold touched his pocket and realized with consternation that the newspaper must have fallen out when he reached down for the bucket. "Obviously it is," Peter said. "Are you aware that you could go to jail just for having it in your possession?" "Everyone reads it in the city," Harold said. "And what right have the Nazis got to tell us what to do? We shall kick the whole evil pack of them out of our country." "The Germans are our friends," Peter said with an air of pious self-righteousness. He threw the newspaper to the ground and walked away. It started to rain heavily. When Harold returned to his bike, he found that the fire under the boiler had gone out. He tried to relight it, but after 20 frustrating minutes, he gave up. He pushed the bike half a mile to the hotel and left it in the car park, then set off along the beach. 3 weeks from the summer solstice, the Scandinavian evenings lasted until 11 o'clock, but tonight clouds darkened the sky, and the pouring rain further restricted visibility. Harold found his way by the feel of the ground underfoot and the sound of the sea in his right ear. 2 hours later, he was tired, cold, and miserable when he came up against the fence around the new German base and realized he would have to walk 3 miles around it in order to reach his home a few hundred yards away. If the tide had been out, he would have continued along the beach, for although that stretch of sand was officially off limits, the guards would not have been able to see him in this weather. However, the tide was in, and the fence reached into the water. But he could climb the fence. The rain had eased, and a quarter moon, showing fitfully, intermittently shed an uncertain light over the drenched landscape. 50 yards inland, the fence passed through a copse of scrubby trees and bushes that hid it from view. That would be the place to get over. He knew what lay beyond the fence. Last summer he had worked as a labourer on the building site. The builders had told everyone it was to be a new Coast Guard station. They might have had trouble recruiting staff if they had told the truth. Harold, for one, would not knowingly have worked for the Nazis. So he knew the layout. The disused school had been refurbished, and 2 new buildings put up either side of it. All the buildings were set back from the beach, so he could cross the base without going near them. In addition, much of the ground at this end of the site was covered with low bushes that would help conceal him. Minutes later, he headed across the base, moving as fast as he dared, orienting himself by the waves on his right and faint music to the left. A sudden burst of sound to his left startled him, and he crouched down, his heart beating faster. He looked over toward the buildings. A door stood open, spilling light. As he watched, a soldier came out and ran across the compound. Then another door opened in a different building, and the soldier ran in. Harold's heartbeat eased. He passed through a stand of conifers and went down into a dip. As he came to the bottom, he saw a structure.